So I've been teaching TCGs for a while now, and easily the biggest constraint that gets people into playing them long term is deck building. Now I know what my TCG fans are going to say. Deck building is the core mechanic of a TCG. If you can't deck build, how are you going to customize and build a deck? Where is the player creativity and expression going to come from in playing? Deck building has always been a core of the first TCGs, notably with Magic the Gathering and every other competitor TCG that exists. Why remove deck building? Well, there's a few problems with deck building that we don't talk about a whole lot for those who are super into TCGs. Number one is deck building is very time consuming. The time it takes to gather bulk, get your cards, and put them together in a deck, buy some sleeves, sleeve them up, organize them and the like, and also test your deck is a very time-consuming process, not to mention the time it takes to find a new player to play with. Number two is deck building is very complicated at a higher level. Yes, any beginner can deck build if they know the deck building constraints, but if deck building is very open, like say Magic the Gathering, there's a lot of things you need to consider in building a deck. How many lands do I need to have in my deck? How much removal do I need to have in my deck? How many bombs or cards to win do I need to have to win? If I'm deck building to win rather than trying to have fun, it can be very complicated, especially when you add math into the equation. Even if you're not trying to win, it can be very complicated to make your deck idea fun, because you still need to make the boring parts of your deck, the resources and synergistic pieces, work with the existing game plan you have in mind. And the third reason why deck building is not good for new players to TCGs is it can be very costly. Yes, everyone says to buy singles to keep your deck costs low, but the reality is beginners love opening packs. They don't want to go on a secondary market and buy the cards. They want to play with the cards they have right now and deck build with their cards. The problem is the cards they get in their packs kind of suck a lot of the times. You have to go and invest in a lot of booster packs to get the good cards and then build your deck with the cards. In my experience as a TCG community builder, the easiest game that I've gotten people to play long term is called Keyforge. And the appeal of Keyforge is that there's no deck building. You just buy a deck for about $10 at the time and you're ready to go and play. Every deck is unique, the game is easy to learn. I was able to build a Keyforge community from 0 people basically playing the game locally to 20 people playing it before COVID pandemic happened. So Keyforge is a good example of a game that has accessibility while also creating a community for it. The key thing is card games have always been popular without open deck building. Take playing cards. With a playing card deck, you have thousands of games you can play. You can learn the games without having to deck build. You can play poker, blackjack, you can play casual games like Go Fish. Like playing cards have no deck building at all for a card game. Video games like Slay the Spire and Balatro don't have you deck build before you play the game, you deck build as you play the game. In this way, deck building becomes part of the gameplay experience rather than as a prerequisite to actually playing the game. Additionally, in those games, the deck building is more constrained, so you know what to build in your deck. If you're given a few cards only to choose from, rather than all the cards that exist from your bulk or from the online game you're playing, it becomes way easier to deck build. Speaking of deck building in a constrained setting, games like Magic do drafting very well. In drafting, you're still constraining the cards you have to pick from to build into your deck, so it becomes easier to think about the deck building process. It's all about making deck building a part of the experience rather than as a constraint. And I'm also seeing indie games like Myriad only require 1 pack to play to actually play the game. In this way, it's kind of like Keyforge, where you only need to have 1 deck to actually play the game, rather than having a whole built deck up front. The point of this video is not to say deck building should be removed from trading card games. I love deck building personally, especially open deck building where everything can go into a deck. It's super fun to deck build when you actually understand how to do it, but that said, a lot of people just do not want to deck build. People today don't have the time to learn the art of deck building, they just want to actually play the game. And a lot of times, people also don't want to just have a precon, they want to have something unique for themselves. That's why games like Keyforge, build and go games like Slay the Spire and Balatro, and drafting experiences are very popular, because you still give agency to the players to build their own deck, but in ways that are more constrained. If you do deck building for your TCG, you should consider making it structured for complexity. For instance, in the game CryptidFM, instead of having the resources built into your deck, you just have a separate deck of 10 land that you pull from once per turn, kinda like Hearthstone has it. In this way, you don't have to do the complexity of calculating optimal land drops for a multicolored deck. If you love designing your games with deck building, please do keep deck building in your games. But I do wish we saw more games today make deck building easier by constraining deck building and making it part of the experience, rather than making it a barrier for beginners to learn the game. Well guys, that's the video today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please dislike me if you hate me. If you like me, give me a like, comment and all the like, subscribe and all that good stuff. And hopefully you'll be here next time for my next TCG commentary video. I'll see you next time. Peace.